Welcome back to Foreign Gems. We're back again. It's Mac and Ola coming at you. Ola, say hello to the people.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Yeah.
And happy whatever day this is, Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. We always record on Wednesdays, man. Wednesday has turned out to be the best day for both of us. We've been really consistent with it so far.
We release it on Sundays though.
We release it on Sundays, so there's like a bit of a, well, there's actually an even bigger buffer than that, but
Yeah.
It's a buffer. But I'm really excited to do this episode for a bunch of reasons. One is a topic, which we'll get into in a second, but the other one is, this is maybe the second pod that we're doing after it's being released.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And now we're getting some feedback, and we're hearing from people and how they're feeling about the pod. It's having the kind of impact we were hoping to have really early on, so that's like giving us motivation to go. And part of that actually led to this topic idea. So we're going to be talking today about public speaking, and I'll talk a little bit about why I thought we should do this episode. I got some feedback from people listening to the podcast. They were like, "Do you know that you say yeah a lot to fill the space?" And I started thinking about those things, like what do we say to fill some spaces and things like that. And one of the skills that you develop as a public speaker, hint, that is the topic that we're going to talk about today, is managing that, and managing the speed at which you talk, and managing the way that you deliver the message that you're trying to deliver. And ever since I heard that feedback, I started thinking about it a lot more and started slowing down a little bit when I speak, just to ensure that I'm not using as many filler words, things like and you know is one of them. You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying, that kind of thing. And I think this is a useful topic to our listener base because it pertains to everybody. Everybody at some point is under the spotlight, so to speak. Me I'm playing more of a listener role at this moment because I don't have too much experience in this subject, but we do have somebody who does. Ola has been doing a lot of public speaking as part of his day-to-day gig. He is sometimes involved in, taking the stage, presenting concepts and ideas, and beyond even the day-to-day gig, that work that you do with Notion.
Yeah.
I've attended an event where you actually did some public speaking, and I thought you did really well in it. So I think this is going to be useful for me to act like a questioner about how you've approached this and how you've like kind of improved in this skill set, because I think it's going to help a lot of people out. So I'm excited to talk about this.
That'll be quite interesting. Also, for context, for everyone listening, we don't rehearse any of these topics we discuss.
We really don't.
We typically pick the topic the day of as well.
Yep.
So this is just as unrehearsed and free-flowing for us as it is for you as well. So we'll see where this goes. I don't know what questions you're going to ask, so let's see.
The first question that I want to dive right into is, how did you get into public speaking? And I'd love a story about like the first experience that you had with it, and how that motivated you to either want to do more or to improve the skill. Like, how did you begin thinking this is something that I should hone in?
Interesting. There are three parts of that. There is the accidental one, which I shared when we talked about our side hustles, not side hustles, career journey, when I spoke in class, I think. We did an episode on that. There's also the one when I was younger and I didn't remember until recently when my mom reminded me. And then there's the conscious one. So I would say three of them. So the first one, when I was younger, was my Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, and sometimes there's no power. And I apparently was talkative when I was younger. And the way people would just call me to entertain them, and I would just start telling them stories right off the bat.
Okay.
On like rehearse, like just go on.
Were these stories that you were making up, or stories that you knew and you were retelling?
Making up on the fly, impromptu, like improv.
Okay.
But I didn't even know what I was doing then, but apparently it was an inbuilt thing in me that I didn't even know.
Yeah.
But then as I grew older, as a teenager, I totally forgot about that skill.
Okay.
And I became like, in a way, a shy person, and I thought I was not a good speaker actually.
Okay. So how did you get back to think, like, get that confidence to say, okay, maybe I do have this skill and I should work to perfect it or work to make it better?
Yeah, so I worked at Tim Hortons as well, serving people all day, every day. And the job itself was very boring and soul crushing. And the way to entertain myself was just to talk to people, and I would just make conversation on the fly. And I actually didn't want to apply for the job initially because I got to Newfoundland when I was 17.
Yeah.
So that was just after my puberty stage. My voice was like cracky, and I started mumbling.
Yeah.
For like 2 years, I was mumbling a lot. So that continued until when I came to Canada, and I didn't want to apply for Teams. I was like, no one can barely understand me. I still had like a mix of weird Nigerian and a bit of British accent at the time. So it was like this weird thing going on.
Good.
But yeah, I just started practicing talking to people, just practice. Then I started my company, and my co-founder, he just wanted to develop. He didn't want to really deal with people.
Right.
So there was no one to talk to the public, no one to pitch the company besides me. Yeah. So I wasn't even thinking, am I a good speaker or am I not? It was just I need
necessity.
It was necessity. You need to do it. You have to do it. So I started pitching, and my first one was good. He was in a small room. I pitched to people. He was actually pretty good. Then there was a competition a week later, and I signed up for the competition, and that was a disaster. I was way too into my head. I over-prepared. I had every word for word what I needed to say written down. While I was looking down and reading, I looked around the room initially. There was no one. People were like grabbing their drinks at the event. Yep. So I thought, it's a small event. There was barely anyone in here. And by the time I looked up, I was ready. I didn't know I would be the first person they would call. So they was like, next speaker is Ollie King. So I was like, okay, cool. Then I went up. While I was adjusting the mic and everything, I turned around. The room was like 50, 60 people. I was like, oh my God. And
that's a big crowd.
I completely forgot what I wanted to say. And I was there for like 30 seconds, I was just there, just thinking, just looking. And thankfully, someone who I had pitched to before, then she was like, so you were telling me that your business does? I was like, oh, right. And then as soon as she said that, I just started going, and it was flowing.
Locked in.
What helped me though that day was in the middle of the embarrassment, I right away said, oh, I'm sorry, this is my first time. So, I learned a key lesson there, always admit your flaw, let people know the truth. Yeah, exactly, I framed it, this is my first time. So people became empathetic and supportive in that moment. But, the embarrassment still stuck with me. I still felt the rest of the events, my mind was barely there. I just wanted to,
to get it over.
I just wanted to disappear. So I went home, I got home, and I just took a nap. I'm pretty sure I cried. Yeah. And then took a nap.
Yeah. Cried, burn yourself out.
I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like, public speaking is not for me.
Wow. So, first major experience with a big crowd, kind of turning you off to the whole idea.
It's on YouTube as well, by the way.
There's a video? I'm going to go listen.
I have this weird thing where almost all my failures in life, they
recorded
documentation of it somewhere. So it's cool though.
You're going to have to put a link to that video in the description. Man.
Yeah, well, it's on YouTube somewhere.
Amazing. I really like the story, by the way. It resonates in a couple ways. One is, when I was trying to start a company as well, I ended up being the person to pitch. And it had been a long time since I had been on stage like that. And I fully resonate with the idea of like, wait, I've been through this a few times in practice, but now I'm on stage, all these eyeballs are looking at me, they're expecting me to deliver that same thing, but it's not coming to mind. And then 15 seconds, 30 seconds, it starts to feel like an hour. It feels like so much time has gone by. It really hasn't. And I think people who are in the crowd or something, like, they understand what you're going through, but you don't feel that way when you're on stage. Like, you're like, I'm an alien right now, and I feel naked up here. Yeah. And it's really hard to get back into the frame. Thank God for, the person in the crowd who said, like,
Oh, she
what were
said,
you
man.
saying? Like, it kicked you back in again. But that's really interesting. When you were telling me that story, I started to think about kind of experiences that you might have before this. You're talking about being a storyteller and things like that.
Right.
Did you have any experience with like drama or anything like that as part of growing up?
I did everything growing up.
Yeah. So
I was not good at any of them though.
yeah,
I was, I did drama.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did that help? Like having that experience being on stage before, having to memorize something before, having to deliver it in front of an audience?
no, and that was why I thought I wasn't a public speaker, because for the acting you had to memorize,
Right.
and that has never been my skill.
Gotcha.
It was that day, the failure, that I realized that I was not. I had to improvise.
Rehearsal is not really a thing.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
Which resonates with what we're doing now, which is like lack of rehearsal. Just
Yep.
get into it. We got a few points that we might want to get across, and then we just have a conversation and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so you've just had this experience. You've just thought to yourself, maybe public speaking is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
How then do you switch again to the point where public speaking is now a fairly major part of your day-to-day activities? How did you get back into it?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a great one. I started talking to customers as I was building a company. So you talk to strangers, you're recruiting people.
Yeah.
So you learn to, the passion for the idea, let me put it that way, was what gave me confidence. I wasn't confident in my public speaking,
Right.
but I knew the idea, the business so intimately that it just comes out of me.
Yeah.
So I
You
didn't
want to
have to
deliver
think
that.
about what I'm saying. I had time to work on other things.
Right.
And one of my mentors then, Peter, then he was like, "Ola, you speak too fast. Did you realize that?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." There's like, slow down, slow down,
Slow it down.
slow down. I was like, "Okay, fine."
Yeah.
And then I started slowing down, and then I noticed the difference in myself too,
Yeah.
because I noticed that. Yeah, the more I slow down, it actually gave me more time to think.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, this is actually so much better. It's easier for me."
If I slow down.
Yeah, and then I listened to my recording of my pitches and stuff. Then I realized, wait, it's actually when you slow down, you're not taking as much time as you think
Right.
you are taking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he told me to slow down, and that really helped me. And also seeing your words in your head before you say it,
Right.
that helps as well.
And slowing down gives you that time, right?
Oh,
to,
yeah.
To process and think about that a
Exactly.
bit more.
I did Propel. I told you that, right? I
Right.
did in one of the episodes. I did Propel ICT, and we did Sandler's sales training.
Gotcha.
That was one of those things.
Yeah.
A bunch of programs that we did was helpful.
For quick context, what is the significance of Sandler?
It just teaches you sales tactics and
Gotcha.
approach. Not necessarily the dirty side of sales,
Yeah.
but just the strategies. Pretty
Yeah.
much the psychology of it.
I've heard Sandler, but like I know at UBC there's a Sandler School of Business, for
Okay, I
example.
didn't
So
know that.
I know it.
Yeah.
It relates somehow to this world. I really like that. That's a very actionable thing. Is slow down
Oh yeah.
and take the time to think about what you're going to say
Mhm.
next. There's no need to rush through it. I think it actually slowing down makes you sound more confident in what you're saying.
100%.
And I think one of the flaws that usually happens when somebody goes up in public, I've been guilty of this before, is when I'm really excited about something and I know the paragraph I'm going to hit right now, I start to speed up because I'm excited. And it's not like a conscious thing, it just sort of happens. And I start assuming people are with me
Yeah.
in terms of they know what I'm talking about. And they're going to follow me down this speedy path that I'm supposed to do right now,
Yeah.
even though that may not necessarily be the case. So slowing it down allows actual people to process what it is you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And it also gives you time to frame what you're going to say next, So it's a double win
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
for
slow
sure.
down. I really like that. Very actionable. Take that away. Anybody who's about to hit a stage,
Yeah.
slow down. Don't assume people know what it is you're talking about, and just deliver nice and slowly. And so now that you've recently done MosCon, for example,
Mhm.
do you notice you speed a lot more now that you've had some experience with this versus that maybe that first time you were pitching?
No, it's I speak a lot slower now.
Okay.
Since then, a lot has changed though. Like I started enjoying it.
Yeah.
But even though I would never admit it to myself then, but if you actually look at what I was doing with my time, I was developing myself with that. I was listening to like a lot of good speakers, like Steve Jobs. I've watched almost every
Great,
keynote he's ever done.
great speaker,
Almost
right?
everyone. Obama.
Very good delivery,
Martin
Obama.
Luther King. What's his name? Well, not what's his name. I know his name. Mandela.
Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Great
like
guy.
just people that I look up to. Even The Rock.
Yeah.
From his WWE days. Dave
Great
Chappelle.
performer. Great performer.
Dave Chappelle. I love going to see comedy shows and things for that reason. So understanding pacing, storytelling, using silence. So when I go on stage now, I actually intentionally will stop
Give pauses.
and pause
Yep.
to make things awkward for the audience,
Yep.
so that I can be comfortable.
It's like now we're all
Because
awkward.
everyone's like, why is it not saying anything?
Yeah.
So then it was like, okay, we are both on level playing field now. Then
It's an interesting way to gather attention too, is that like
yeah,
quote unquote awkward pause, but it's a pause enough for people to ask that, oh, what's he doing? Which is enough for them to then resonate with whatever it is you're going to say next, right?
yeah.
That's very
It's almost like a palate cleanser. Whatever expectation or assumption they have of you
Yeah.
is like just playing it for like a few seconds,
Yeah.
and then yeah.
Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit now to another point that you made. I just wanted to dive into that a little bit more. But you made a point about working at Tim Hortons, talking to a lot of strangers all the time. I really like that point because I also worked at a coffee shop and I realized my skills as a conversationalist improved significantly at that time. You're talking to strangers all day and you're having to connect with them, at least for that short time that you're doing the transaction or they're waiting for whatever it is they asked for. Would you say that this had like a pretty big impact on the way you approach public speaking or like the relationship that you have with the stage and the audience? Or would you say it mainly just kind of impacted the way you speak in general?
My confidence for sure. When you are serving people wearing ugly Tim Hortons uniform, like there's not much more that you're embarrassed by. Because my first month when I worked there, I didn't like it at all. I was, you're young, you're trying to impress girls. You don't, in university, you didn't want people to see you looking like that. But after a while, when you start talking to people and you realize, oh, this doesn't define me, like I'm still me.
Right.
And you become more confident, or at least I did. Like, if you can be confident in Tim Hortons uniform, you probably can be confident in a lot of
you can be confident in the suit.
settings. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to dive into that right quick. So I want to talk now a little bit more about like you seeking public speaking opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I think it's one of the things that can be a great separator. I think that is a quote unquote gem, is being able to communicate to a large group of people, communicate an idea clearly and concisely and in a way that has impact. And so to improve that, you need those situations where you can be on that stage and do it. When did you start to kind of seek these opportunities out? And of course, we talked about your pitching experience, but beyond, like, say, past that, now you're working and you're like, okay, this is my job. When did you know that I've got to start exploring this side of me a bit more?
That's very interesting because I have actually never reached out for any of my speaking opportunities.
Interesting. So they
Ever.
come to you.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
always the result of something I'm passionate about.
Gotcha.
So, and they tend to be things that no one else that I'm either working on it with is able to speak to. So it tends to be just me speaking about it.
Right. Okay, so they, like, as a subject matter expert, they want your take on it.
Yeah.
In terms of like topics that you discuss within your expertise, is that something you decide or is that something that's decided? Like, how's that approach typically?
Yeah, okay, I'll give the Notion one as an example.
Yep.
We've always talked about it for a couple of years when they had the last Notion meetup.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I was going to be involved, but I didn't know how. But then Marie and Ben who they're in the Notion community. They reached out like a month before the event and told me that I would be speaking, and I didn't have a topic. I didn't know what I wanted to speak about.
Right.
But it was actually stressful because the topic was more stressful than the presentation itself.
I remember you actually talking about trying to find a topic.
I was trying to find a topic. It just wasn't coming to me. And then a night before, then I was just like, Notion for multi-passionate.
Yeah.
That was just it. I just made that decision.
Yeah.
And then I just went and researched all I could. And by research, it just means like think through what I know about the topic.
Exactly.
Look at whatever notes I've taken.
Yeah.
And that's the only preparation that I do. You know, I just get really confident with what I'm talking about. And I never practice my words. I would look at my deck. I'll put images that will trigger a thought. I'll put specific words that I want, like the mise en place that I use as an example, as a concept. I just put the image, but I know once I see that image,
it'll remind me of
this.
Say
a picture says 1,000 words. It's true when you're presenting. You look at a picture, people are just like, oh, that's a picture. But to me, I can see, if you know it intimately, you can see 100 things to say about it.
I love that. It makes me think of presentations that I've had to do for work, for example. When you have say you have a topic in mind and you're starting to put together the deck for that topic, a common, I'm not going to say mistake, but everybody has their own style, but I don't want to call it a mistake, but a common thing that people do is start to put the full point as a bullet point. In complete sentences and things like that. The reason I think this can be problematic is because you're now locked into telling this story in a particular way. But if you put bullet points with just like the point that you're trying to, like the main thing that you're going to try and get across with this point, for example, or you put an image like you were just saying, like this is what I'm trying to describe, it allows you so much more flexibility and there's no wrong answers.
Exactly.
When you have that full sentence, you're going to go and try and deliver it the exact way you rehearsed it.
You're totally right.
And then you can start to think, oh, I'm doing this wrong. But there's really no wrong. Nobody in the crowd has seen this. You're the expert on your own topic. Yeah, so like whatever you're saying is correct. But you can psych yourself out by saying, okay, I need to deliver it in this exact way. That being said, I have heard for some people it works really well to have like full notes that they've said and then maybe like rehearse the entire presentation word for word. And that gives them confidence, is knowing this is how I'm going to say every point. But like you, I've noticed that when I put just like a bullet point and I allow my mind to deliver it in the most natural way possible, it takes a lot of pressure off of me to have prepared in a very exact format.
Yeah, and a lot of public speaking is storytelling as well. And if you don't have too many words, you're able to tell a better story based on what you have around you. You can like use analogies that are related to the people you're presenting to. Because you can practice your presentation and have an idea of the people you think will be in the crowd, and you show up on that day, it's a completely different crowd. And if you have over practice, you have to stick to those words. But if you don't over practice, like the one that I presented that you were at, I was just using things that was in the crowd, things the previous, I was the first presenter that day, but things that people had mentioned in conversation.
Yeah, for context, there was a bit of like discussion that happened before the presentations went up, so people had already been sharing ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So you're able to be spontaneous and use what's in your environment. Improv, and that's another thing I did too. I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube on improv. And improv, the whole concept of improv is, yes, and you take whatever you have and then add
on what you can.
So when I make a mistake on stage, I was like, so I meant to say, and then you go on.
And you move on.
You don't just, you don't stop, you don't
it doesn't mean
question
the end
it.
of it.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, I want to circle back to what we, like the reason actually this pod topic was triggered, which is filler words. Do you, are you one of the people who use a lot of filler words? And then if you are, like, how do you overcome using those filler words? Or feeling like you need to fill an empty space?
That's great. I used to use a lot of filler words, like is another one, is one,
Like,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
You get what I mean? Like I used to use a lot of weird ones, but listening to Steve Jobs once again, I was like, why? How does he do this?
How does it deliver so much impact?
Yeah, and then a lot of people. But then the more I learned about it though, I got to a point where I became almost robotic. Like I almost eliminated all filler words. So I actually started introducing it artificially.
Right.
So sometimes I use it intentionally just so that people
It's
can
more
like,
human.
Yeah. So like this guy is not a robot. So sometimes I will
Interesting.
intentionally just go, it's not a filler for me in that case.
Yeah.
It's a tool to
Relate.
to connect, because you don't want to sound like you know everything, because I don't think
Nobody
anyone
does.
knows everything. Definitely not me. I don't know about everyone else, but
Yeah.
I'm clueless a lot.
And I feel like that takes the pressure off of you a little bit as well, because when you have the pressure to be the know-it-all,
Yeah,
then you have to be perfect up there.
exactly.
But if you're somebody who is
Which is
just as
pretentious,
curious, maybe knows a little bit more and is hoping to educate other people about it, you can be more authentic. And you can use some of those words every now and then. They're real. And they make everybody else feel a little bit more comfortable as well, that, this isn't just like some unreachable person who knows too much about this stuff and I can't relate to them.
My favorite way to start any speech or anything is I don't know what I'm doing. And it's not because I'm lying,
Yeah.
but that's how I feel,
Yeah.
a lot. The Creative Acts, the book that I will borrow you.
Yeah. I wanna borrow the book.
It actually opens it up with that idea as well, and that was one of the things that made me fall in love with that book. It was like everything you're about to read is not based on science. It's not based on anything. I don't know anything. This is that has worked for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But
I love that.
This is my own take.
Not having to pretend to be an expert at, not having to validate it with some sort of like expertise or like some sort of stamp of approval from before, just approaching it as somebody who is just here to learn as much as you are. This is what I've learned so far. I want to share it in case it's helpful to you.
Yeah, by the time you give your presentation, like the information might not even be relevant anymore, because things move so fast in the world.
Things move so quickly.
So you might be an expert yesterday, you're not expert tomorrow again.
I think that resonates a lot with also like our mission in this podcast and the way that we go about the podcast, which is I'm no expert in public speaking. You have experience in public speaking, but you're in no way an expert in public speaking
There's
as
still
well.
a lot I need to improve.
But we share what it is that we've learned so far about these various topics, and we welcome other people's experiences, and we want to share those as much as possible as well. And I think that takes a lot of pressure from us having to say everything perfectly, for example, or to deliver the most perfect advice or quote unquote gems. It's just, we're just sharing the gems that we have.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that it'll be a useful tool for somebody else.
Yeah, I don't want us to be the experts at any particular topic.
Yeah.
Like I want us to use it as a learning vehicle. So we're just sharing with people what works for us, what we found out. And if it works for you, apply it. If it doesn't work, don't.
Yeah.
And if you know better than us, then come on and.
Yeah.
But we are not the foreign gems, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, the gems for our part is we are Geminis.
Yeah. that's how we related the gem.
Yeah, our guests are the foreign gems.
Yeah.
We are foreign Geminis.
Yeah.
So just FYI, that's how we came up with the name.
Exactly. Do not expect expert advice here.
Yeah.
But we'll give you what we can is our mission with this pod. I love it. And thank you for taking the time to answer some of this. I wanna ask you, what is the next speaking event that you have, and like how are you feeling about that now?
I'm not sure yet. There's quite a couple lined up. There's one I'm still deliberating. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see over time.
See where it goes. And
we'll see over time.
When that's up, we gotta share it with the people in the pod. See kind of what it's like,
Yeah, we'll see over time. Yeah, it will be exciting either way.
Amazing. And with that, we just kind of hit the mark for the pod. Thank you for being the answerer in today's pod, Ola. I really appreciate getting your perspective on the public speaking thing. And if anybody out there is either about to do some public speaking or has just done some public speaking and they want some feedback on something like that, like feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you in whatever way we can. Whatever we know about public speaking, we're happy to share, of course. I'm sure Ola will be happy to do that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this was episode something.
Yeah.
Topic public speaking.
We're getting up there. We have like a season's worth of content now.
I love it. I'm so proud of how consistent we've been with this, and I'm really happy that it's now in people's hands and we're getting some feedback about it.
Yeah, keep listening, keep sharing your feedback, keep subscribing, liking, sharing.
Do all the things.
Anything.
All the buttons that are there, just hit them, except maybe the close out button.
Give us a feedback. We're on YouTube now, and part of the reason is someone reached out to me and said, you need to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
We added on YouTube, so
feedback, we take it in.
Yeah, whatever you want us to do.
Yeah. Any way you want us to improve format, things like that, just like let us know. We consider everything. Yeah, we just want to deliver the best product.
Yep.
All right. That was Foreign Gems, episode something, like I said. And we'll catch you in the next pod.
Yeah. See you next time. That was a short and actionable one.